Over the next few days, fire crews have a real opportunity to make progress against the Eaton fire, which is burned in Altadena and Pasadena, and the Palisades fire, which has obviously destroyed thousands of homes in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood. As you said, the winds are going to be dying down throughout the weekend. Conditions will still be pretty dry, but the fire warnings that have really had people on edge and have had crews worried are finally lapsing today. So this is going to be an important moment to try to make progress and gain grounds before these winds come back early next week.
Yeah, I think the concern too is just a total dryness in the area and a real lack of rain on the horizon. Lauren, how difficult does that make firefighters' jobs? Yes, the winds may have died down or may be dying down. It makes fighting these fires from the air more easy. However, a lack of rain, it's not coming.
Yeah, I mean, normally from April through the end of the calendar year, Los Angeles would have received more than 5 inches of rain, but so far in that same period, we're looking at less than an inch of rain. I talked to a fire scientist this week who told me that if Los Angeles had gotten its usual winter storms, we wouldn't be looking at or talking about, these fires as devastating events. The winds would have rolled through and there would have been, you know, nothing really to feed a fire. The land would have been moist enough to sort of resist. So the dryness has really, driven this tragedy, unfortunately. And the landscape is primed to burn, which is why it's so important to sort of get out there and try to make progress while the winds aren't a factor.
Yeah, and in a cruel kind of, potential twist, right? There's concerns that when it does rain, that you could see now landslides, difficult landslides in the LA area because so much has been burned and there's nothing really to kind of hold things back. We do want to, Lauren, get to a story that you wrote today, and you talk about the Santa Ana wind gusts that meteorologists posted days before the fires. So accurate, kind of accurate early warnings, but they've got a harder time pinpointing the role of climate change in events like this. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, for the last few years, scientists have been trying to figure out how in a warming world the winds are going to change. And there was, research that came out a few years ago that actually struck kind of a hopeful note that said that the winds might become less frequent as time wore on, that the season might begin later, but there would be fewer of these outbreaks of sort of vicious, hot, dry winds that help prime the landscape to burn. And then, over time, I think some of those conclusions have sort of been softened a bit. And now scientists think there may be fewer Santa Ana winds in the spring and the fall. But what's happening is that Los Angeles is developing these really dry conditions into the winter months, which is not standard for this region. And as it grows hotter and drier, that brings increased fire risk in the winter months, December and January, which is right when these winds tend to peak. And based on the research so far, that is not expected to change.
What's the connection between drought and climate change, Lauren?
Yeah, researchers have been doing some really interesting work on this. They think that overall, Los Angeles is probably going to get, on average, about the same amount of rain it always has, but it is not going to be spread out evenly. It's going to come, all at once, as we saw. The last two winters in Los Angeles were incredibly rainy. There was flooding. There were huge kind of outgrowths of plants and wildflowers and brush and grass. Los Angeles turned green and verdant. And then as the city's gone through summer and fall heat waves, all of those plants have died off. That is what's fueling the fires right now. That is what's primed to burn and making it so tough for fire crews who are working in the Los Angeles area right now.